Hi, everyone. Welcome. We are very excited to have you here. Hi. If you want to put, hi, everyone. If you just want to put in the chat where you are attending for the spring, that would be great. Again, you don't have to. We're just interested of where you are headed. Just as a little housekeeping note, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A section. We will get to them at the end of our panel. So we can ask our panelists or you can ask us questions, whichever you prefer. But we're going to give it a couple more minutes for more people to come in and then we will get started. Again, if you're just coming in, it's great to have you. If you want to put in the chat where you are going for the spring semester, you can. Again, you don't have to. Any questions, please put them in the Q&A section for us. Just makes it easier for us to track your questions. Again, we'll give it like a couple more seconds and then we'll get started. Ooh, Italy. That's exciting. But yeah. Ooh, Goucher.
Oh, Ireland, great. Japan, London, Netherlands, Spain, France, Chile, great. Finland, England. Another person going to Spain, going to New Zealand, Costa Rica. Somebody coming to the USA, great.
Cool. Wow, these all sound like so cool places and such fun experiences for everyone you're going to have. Again, we're so excited to have you here for our current student panel. So Rachel, do we want to get started then?
Yeah, we're going to get it started. And do you want to start? Maybe Cynthia and Jackie will let you get it started and then I'll introduce myself.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. My name is Jackie D'Amico. I'm the Student Services Officer for the US, or one of them, and I work with programs in the Midwest and West.
Hi everyone, I'm Cynthia. I'm also a Student Services Officer for programs in the United States. Yeah, thank you all for joining.
My name is Rachel Gordon. I'm our Director of Enrollment Management. And I will be here manning the chat and the Q&A. So as you have questions for our panelists, you can either put them in the Q&A or put them in the chat, and we'll make sure that your questions get asked.
Great, so I think we'll go ahead and start with our slides.
So again, welcome everyone. Before we get into our current student panel, we're just going to go over a couple of things that you will need to complete before you go on program. So for any ISEP exchange students, again, you're going to have to complete your acceptance package, and that is located in your ISEP dashboard in the acceptance package tab. Everyone has 3 weeks from the time you receive your acceptance package to complete it. Your acceptance package has 3 main sections that you're going to need to complete. The first section is just the student contract, then it's the medical form, and then your acceptance payment. You'll also need to enroll in ISEP insurance once you complete your acceptance package. For all ISEP direct students, again, you're going to need to complete your acceptance package as well, and that is located in your ISEP dashboard in the acceptance package tab. You also have 3 weeks from the time you receive it to complete it, but your acceptance package has 4 main sections. The first section is your student contract, then it's the medical form, your program deposit, and then you'll enroll in ISEP insurance in your acceptance package. So just getting a little bit more detail about each section. So the student contract in this section, it just gives you your program information. It gives you information on your program start and end dates, housing benefits, and if you receive any meal benefits, those will be in this section. We kindly ask that you read this section completely, and if you have any questions, please let your student services officer know. There might be directions in here from your host university that you might need to read over and secure, such as housing, just so you can prepare for your arrival. Also is the contract of participation. This also contains important information from your host university and ISEP. It also has the ISEP conditions of placement, and that's certainly an important section to read over. Lastly, it's just your signature. We kindly ask that you electronically sign the contract to confirm that you had read and accepted these conditions in your acceptance package. So the next section is your medical form. Please make sure to note any medical history or any medical needs that you require an accommodation for while on program. Again, this is just so that your host university as well as ISEP can be prepared for your arrival. So when you get there, it's not a stressful situation. You're just arriving kind of in a nice and easy as much as it can be when you get on program. Next, for all ISEP exchange students, this is just for exchange students, you're going to need to pay the acceptance payment. Your acceptance will only be processed once you complete your acceptance payment, and this is located in the invoice tab. For all ISEP direct students, your acceptance will be processed once you complete your program deposit. This is located also in your invoices tab. And lastly, for all ISEP students, you need to enroll in the ISEP Health and Safety Program. For all ISEP direct students, you must enroll before you are considered accepted. For all ISEP exchange students, you will enroll and pay for your ISEP Health and Safety Program after you are accepted. And again, you can see the little button for ISEP exchange students where you can hit enroll now.
One important clarification that came up in our questions is, so for ISEP direct, the cost of insurance is included in your program. For ISEP exchange, you need to enroll and pay for it 45 days before the start of your program. Okay, let's move on.
All right, so now we're going to get into our current student panel, and we are very excited to have our panelists here. So our first panelist is Anton. He is from Estonia, particularly the University of Tartu, and he is in South Korea. We have Marta from Spain. She is currently in the United States. And she also has Simas, who is also an ISEP student with her in the United States. We are very excited to have him. Next is Ray. She's from the United States, and she is currently studying in Finland. And then lastly, we have Anna. She is from Germany, and she is in the United States. So we are all very excited to have you here. And I'm just going to kind of get into our first question. Anyone can take it. It's just, what was your arrival experience like? I mean, think that's something that everyone worries about. So what was it like? We can start with Anton, if that's okay.
Sure. Hello. What's up, everyone? First of all, I hope that you're excited for your exchange. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, I have actually a very interesting story to tell about my arrival to Seoul. So when I arrived to my housing, my landlady, the apartment owner, came to pick me up. And she was very insistent on taking my suitcase to my apartment, which is my suitcase like 23 kilos, and the apartment is on the 4th floor. And the lady, she's kind of old. So she was very persistent, and we kind of had to play this tug of war thing, which was hilarious, to be honest. But my point is that it was very sweet, and it was kind of nice and very welcoming. So it felt great.
Oh, that's such a cool story. Marta, and Seamus, what was your arrival experience coming to the US?
So for me, it was great. It's true, it's real far away. I come from Spain, so it was such a huge, it took a lot of time to get here. But as soon as I arrived here, everything was as I was expecting. So yes, if you have any questions, just text and send an email to Cynthia or Jackie because they are always like trying to help you and answering all your questions. And also the people from the university here, they knew ISEP perfectly. So it was really like the transition was really smoothly. It was great. I don't know if Siemens.
Yeah, for me it was the same. It was very very simple. Like everybody knew where I'm coming from, so it was very easy. They knew where I'm from ISET, and they took care of it, all of it. But also have a funny story because once I was going, well, I took 4 flights to come here. So the last one was from New York to New Orleans, and I met a guy in the plane. He was sitting next to me, and he said he was going to Loyola. He's from America, and I told him, well, we can take Uber together, but I have no money, so he paid for everything, and we just went to together. Yeah, it was really funny. So we're still friends, so it's really nice.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so cool. And Seamus, you said you took an Uber to campus. Marta, how did you get from the airport to campus?
It's the same way. I took
Same
Lyft.
way?
I think it was, yeah. Lyft and Uber, real important here in the United States if you don't have a car.
Gotcha. So, Ray, being from the US, how was your arrival experience going to Finland?
It was honestly, everything went really smoothly. Like the Finnair flight was really nice. The only thing I kind of had to arrange myself was the train from Helsinki to Turku. Uh, and that was really easy to do just online with an app. And so I was able to book that beforehand. But even if I hadn't, there was really easy to read stations where you could buy the tickets there. So if I needed to do that, I would have been able to. Um, and then, so once I got that train, I arrived at the train station in Turku, and my student tutors actually picked me up there to take me to my student housing. But if not, there were buses available to do that. But they went ahead and picked me up and brought me over there, which made it a lot easier for me. So I didn't have to figure out buses without my first day there.
And Ray, did you know those students that were picking you up? Did you pre-arrange that, or was that something that your host coordinator kind of helped you with?
So, my host university, they have like a student tutor program where they connect a group of international students with local students. And so my group of students that I was connected with, they were asking like if I needed anyone to pick me up at the airport or train station, and I said yes for the train station. And so they just made sure to check with me when I was arriving, and when I got delayed briefly because there was a delay in the tracks, I let them know and kept them updated, and they were able to still come pick me up. So it all worked out great.
Oh, nice. Okay. So far it sounds like communication with your host university, your phone is working to make sure you got that Lyft or Uber. Anna, I'm interested about your arrival experience, just because California is so big. How did you get from the airport to school, to Concordia?
So I remember I was really nervous when I arrived, and then I just waited for the other participants to arrive at the airport because I reached out to them before my semester abroad, and then they arrived from Italy and France, and then we called an Uber and went to university together.
Which airport did you fly into?
LAX.
LAX. And
Yeah.
you said that you had reached out to the other ISEP participants to kind of coordinate a ride, right?
Yeah.
Would you say if, and I guess all of you can answer this, but Anna, you can start. Did you reach out to other ISEP participants once you got those connect forms? Did you initiate it, or did someone else initiate it, that type of thing?
So we got an email from our university in the US, and then I saw who else she was sending the email to. And then I realized, oh, they must be studying with me abroad. And then I just emailed them and got their numbers. And then we made a WhatsApp group, and then we connected. Yeah. And I was really happy. I'd recommend it to everyone because then from the very beginning, you just have your little group of friends.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a smart idea. Did anyone else connect with other ISEP participants before arriving at your host school, or no? No, you all just kind of.
I did
Oh,
actually.
you did?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was Rachel Brown who created the ISEP chat. But yeah, we actually met in person a couple of times. We went for some touristic attractions, and it was really nice. But in general, in Korea at least, there are a lot of exchange students, not only from ISEP. But it was a lot of fun to meet some of our guys as well.
Oh, well, it sounds like all of you had a pretty interesting or good experience arriving to your host universities, which is what we always like to hear. So I'm just going to move on to our next question, which is about classes.
Well, we have some questions from the chat, actually. Can I jump in with some questions from the chat?
Yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
Yeah. So first off, thank you all for sharing your experiences. I want to do a quick plug for everybody on here. We have what we call our Connect With forms that your student services officers will be sending out, usually in early December. That will is an opportunity for you to connect with other students that are going to your host site or your host country. You can provide your social media information, and it's a great chance for you to be able to start talking. You can start a group chat, all of that before you arrive at your program. So keep an eye out for those forms in December. But our first question from the chat is, have you dealt with culture shock, or how have you dealt with culture shock if you had any? And I'll leave it to anybody who wants to start with this one. I think it might be good for all of you to answer.
Yeah, I can start with this one if you guys don't mind. So yeah, I'm actually originally from Ukraine, but I'm studying currently in Estonia. And I've done my share bit of traveling. I've been to the US, to Canada, but I've never been to Asia. And Asia is, like I'm telling you guys, it's a whole new different world. And yes, you will experience cultural shock, and I hope that you will, because it's a great it's a great opportunity to grow and to experience a new perspective. My suggestion and my advice would be to do some research. Just try to research what you can do or should not do in the country. For example, in Korea, the thing is that I didn't know, although I did a bit of research, but I somehow missed it, is that it's considered impolite if you pass or receive things with one hand. You should do it with two hands. But still, my other piece of advice, even if you do something wrong, don't be afraid of that. Like people, like local people would be happy to have you in their country. It means that like you are interested in their country, and I mean it's super nice, right?
Anyone else want to speak to culture shock?
Yeah, so I also wanted to add, like for me, it was my first time in the United States, and oh my God, it's a huge country. So you will experience like a lot of things that are done differently when you compare it with your own country. But it's also great to learn new things, to meet other people, other cultures. It's super nice. So just don't be afraid. Try to open your mind, open your eyes, try to see everything and join everything you can so you can learn as much as possible. Um,
Yeah, for me, it's not my first time in the United States, but it's still a shock for me because I come from Eastern Europe, from Lithuania, and we're kind of cold people. We don't talk much, we don't show emotions much. I think Anton can relate to me. So, and here in the USA, everybody's so outgoing. Even if you don't know them, the cashier or anybody, first time you meet, they are as if you're friends and they ask you questions. How are you? How was your day and everything? So for me, it's kind of sometimes like, why you keep asking these questions? But once you like, get played by their rules, it's kind of fun. So just follow the flow of the country you go to.
That's awesome. Anybody else have an experience with culture shock that you want to share? Or how you got over it?
I mean, I didn't really experience much culture shock, at least not negatively. There were some things that were better because, like, I come from a very rural area where there's not much in the way of architecture or like history. So it was kind of nice to just, walk down like streets that were like actually paved with like stone, and like there was, you know, brick roads and like old buildings and like very intentional architecture. And that's not what I'm used to from Oklahoma. So it was kind of stuff that I enjoyed. A couple of things that I had a little bit of trouble with were just, you know, the first few days, like figuring out the recycling and where things go and that kind of stuff. But other than like those little things, because it's still Western culture, I guess, there wasn't really any major cultural shocks for me.
Yeah, it's the same for me. I didn't really have a culture shock, but of course, there are some things you just have to adapt to. For example, I noticed that in the US, everyone is really individualistic. Like students really work on their own. And yeah, that's really different. And I also noticed that Americans are really in a rush. And yeah, I had to adapt to that because we in Europe, we take our time, for example, when we go to the cafeteria and the Americans leave like after 20 minutes, and we, the Europeans, we stay for like more than an hour.
That's definitely a big difference in terms of the amount of time that we take at meals is a big one. Absolutely. Great. Well, if you have more questions, please put them in the Q&A and we'll get them answered, but we'll have Jackie move on with our next one.
Yeah, and Rachel, just stop me if someone has a question. But like I said, our next question is going to be about like classes. What are your classes like? Are they different from your home university? Stuff like that. So, Anton, did you want to go first, just in the order we've been going in, if that's okay?
Sure, I will make that quick. So a couple of interesting points is that in Korea, they have mandatory class presence. You need to be physically, like mandatory attendance. You have to be physically present in the class. And that's one thing. And the other is that course registration was brutal. Like I've never seen it like that. Another advice that just try to get your priorities straight and understand what exactly you want from this exchange. And based on that, just have some courses that you want to take and can take, and be prepared that you might not be able to take the courses that you want. Have some backup plan. And I guess that's it.
No, that's really good advice. Thank you. Marta, how was classes for you and CMS? How were classes? What classes are you taking? Are they different? That type of thing.
So I would say the first big difference would be like attendance. Here is mandatory to go to class. I don't know if it's because this is a private one university and I am in a public one back in Spain, but the attendance is mandatory. The classes are not that crowded, like maybe there are 12, 15 students per class, at least in my courses. And also there are a lot of assignments. So in Spain, it's more like you have to study, you go to class, you like they will lecture you with different topics, and then you go to the final exam, you do it, and then you have like the 100% of your mark is just this exam. But here you have to do a lot of assignments during the semester. What I think is better because then you have like more time to think about them and to learn not only at the end of the semester. And yeah, I would also recommend you if you are coming to the United States, here's really normal that the people take all the subjects, not only the one that they are studying, like the major, but also other field of studies that you are interested in. So for example, I was interested in psychology. So here I'm doing another course that's related to psychology, but that's not what I am studying back in Spain. So also like take this opportunity that you can choose all the subjects. So yeah, don't only focus on what you are doing there because you're coming back, of course, and then you will keep doing it. So try to, try new things.
Yeah, in my case, I'm taking 4 classes. 2 is business, 2 is physics. So the business classes are super entertaining. Americans are like so good. They can keep your attention and everything. Like you don't want to pick up your phone because for real, like it's interesting. And back in my country, business classes are kind of boring because all you do is just like numbers and some boring stuff. So here it was really good. I enjoyed that. But physics classes are, I would say, more or less the same. Just instead of like 30 people, we have 3 people. So just 3 people, we sitting and the professor. So you get kind of your personal attention. So that part is nice. Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting. I've heard that a lot too, that American classes are very entertaining, but the assignments are a lot. But it sounds like you guys are doing great with them. Ray, what's classes in Finland like? Are they different from American classes? What has been your experience?
I'll say that there's a lot less time spent in class. Like they only have like a lot of their classes are only like 45 minutes long rather than like, 50 minutes to like an hour and a half, which is pretty used to like an hour and a half, even 2 hours for certain classes. But a lot of their classes are just really, really short and they put a lot more emphasis on doing work on your own. So there'd be like a lot of reading and you like will like write back about a reading or something. I mean, I'm taking literature classes, so obviously that's going to be pretty biased in one direction about what kind of homework there's going to be. But for that field, at least, it tends to be a lot of um, really short lectures, and then something called a tutorial, which I hadn't had in the US. So I was kind of confused when I saw that on like the schedule at first. I was like, what does it mean by a tutorial? Because I had only heard of that like learning step by step how to do something. But in this case, tutorial is sort of a companion to another class. So you have like the lecture one day that's like 45 minutes long, and then the next day you'll have the tutorial, which is 45 minutes long, where you sort of go over and discuss it. So like the first one's a lecture, and then the tutorial is a discussion-based class where you sort of discuss with your classmates and you kind of go over some questions about it and just sort of delve into the work a little bit. So that was something new that I hadn't seen before, but I would definitely say that they rely on you to do a lot of the work on your own time, and there's a lot less class time than there is in what I'm used to at my university.
Okay, we have a few questions from the audience. So the first one is from Marta. It's actually about life in Spain. So one of our students is curious about suggestions of things that you could do, especially at universities in Spain, to meet new people or activities that you could participate at universities in Spain.
First of all, I'm so happy that you are going to Spain, and I hope you have a great time there. In Spain, wow, there are a lot of things to do there. Like you're going to see, I don't know where you are from, but in Spain we do a lot of things outside. So we love being in contact with other people, meeting new people, just drinking something or eating something in different restaurants. It's really cheap to go out, so don't worry about that thing. And yeah, activities, I would say first of all, like your university probably will tell you something. So place where you can meet other international students, and you will create your WhatsApp group or your chat where you can be all together. So don't worry about this. And to meet other Spanish people, I would recommend you the first, like in classes, try to talk with them. Spanish people, we're really open. We love meeting new people. So yes, don't be afraid. Just start talking. Doesn't matter your level in Spanish. We really appreciate when the people try to learn our language. So yes, try to speak with them and you will see you are going to have no problems there. And yes, so if you're interested in volunteer, then try to look for something there that you can also do there. Or if you want to do some internship, yes, also try to ask your professor, the people, yes, try to talk with as many people as possible and you will see that you will have no problems. And of course, if you need whatever, you can just like, I can give you my email or something. You can always ask me.
Great, thank you. I think I want to extend that question to everybody else and make it a little bit more general. I know a lot of students, as they're preparing for their semester abroad or their year abroad, everybody's big question is, how am I going to meet people when I arrive there? How am I going to make friends, right? Can each of you talk about your experience on an ISEP program and how you've started to make friends, how you've started to meet people?
Sure, I can go. So yeah, Marta actually addressed that point really, really well. So I will just go over it again. So yeah, the easiest way is probably during classes, parties, maybe social gatherings. Also keep an eye on clubs or maybe some sport teams or something like that. It might also be beneficial to live in the dorm because dorm with, either with international people or maybe even with local people. Now, what's interesting is that it might be simpler to make new friends with international people because you are kind of similar. You are in a new environment, so it might be a bit easier. When it comes to local people, Well, honestly, it might be hard, and you might need to put some effort into that. So in Korea, for example, a language barrier is like a real thing. I was surprised, and it was actually also kind of part of cultural shock. But yeah, so just my advice, be as outgoing as possible. I know it's easier said than done, but yeah, don't be shy. Try your best at least. If you keep showing up, you will eventually meet people with whom your interests align. And I'm sure you will meet a lot of great people and great friends.
Anybody else? How did you go about making friends?
I will say, at least in like if you're going to study in a European country, the local ESN chapter is going to be a lifesaver when it comes to student events, because ESN is like Erasmus Student Network, and it's kind of the European student exchange. I think they have some other countries as well, but they have like a little local chapter that is open to all international students. So even if you're there with ISEP, you can still join their program and go to their events and everything like that. And they usually put on quite a few events, and you can meet other international students super easily. And usually it'll be also the same ones who are also new. And so you'll have a lot in common just in that regard, even if, they're from a completely different country. Like I made friends with people from like France, Spain, Italy, even like Korea, like South Korea, and so many countries like Hungary, Poland, just everywhere, just from going to ESN events, because that's an easy way to get connected with people. And aside from that, I would also keep an eye out for programs that the university either puts out or promotes, because I was able to make friends with an older local Finn couple through what's called the Finnish Friend Program. Um, the university promoted that in an email, and it's actually an external program, but they pair like local Finnish people who are just living in the area, usually like of any age really, and they pair them up with international students who are kind of wanting to learn about like local like Finnish culture. So like keep an eye out for things like that your like university might be putting out or something local might be doing. And so that way I've gotten to interact and just meet different people from both Finland and from tons of other countries.
Awesome.
So we had the week of welcome at Concordia, and there were a lot of events, and I just recommend to participate in as many events as possible, because in the week of welcome, everyone is looking for like a friends group, and not only the internationals but also the Americans try to make friends, and just be confident and talk to as much as people as possible and participate in the events of the university. Um, yeah, that's like my suggestion to make friends.
Awesome. Okay, so our next question from the group is, how long did it take you to feel like you had settled into life in your new country and found a routine? I think this is a great question. Does anyone want to start?
I'd say it honestly took me a bit longer than I thought it would, but that's just because, I had to learn like where all the student cafeterias were, where the best place to buy groceries were. But once I figured out those things, it was probably, I was still getting by just fine for the first like month or so, but it took about a solid month before I actually felt like I had some sense of routine. Like, okay, I'm gonna make Sunday my cleaning day so that I feel, organized for the rest of the week. Then I'm gonna do my online homework that I have to do on this day. And I actually started getting consistent rather than doing everything like right before I needed to do it. I did it more on a schedule sort of after about a month, because it took about that much time for me to figure out exactly what resources I had and when I needed to go get them and like all that kind of stuff. So I knew when I needed to do things and to keep on top of them.
Awesome.
I will also add that that depends on the person and like the kind of routine you want to have. But I would say like the first 2 weeks are exhausting because everything is new. You have to get on like meet so many things that are not the one that you are used to doing back home. So yeah, first 2 weeks are exhausting. But as soon as you go through these weeks, you will see that everything will start having like like a routine or and it's super nice. So the experience is amazing. So don't worry about that. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I would say the same, that the first, like, to get like to the routine, it takes like a month. It took like a month for me. But for the first 2 weeks, you have to go through the stage of introducing yourself to everyone, telling the same story. What's your name? What's your hobbies? What's your favorite color? Where you're from? So at some point, it gets really annoying, at least for me. But once you get to that stage, you have like your friend group, and once it like all stable, you can get the routine feeling.
Great.
Yeah, I totally agree with you guys. It might be quite exhausting during the first few weeks. It might be also, for example, related to jet lag or maybe a different culture. But I also feel like it is the most exciting part of the exchange. So yeah, don't be nervous about that. Actually, be nervous, and that's fine. That's actually excitement. And yeah, if you feel like you are overwhelmed, that's fine. Just give yourself some time. It's once again, it's totally normal.
Okay, awesome. So we have a question specifically for you, Anton. Um, Somebody who's going to go to South Korea is asking, is it easy to make friends with locals? Do you find that the Korean students are open to meeting international students and making friends with them?
That's a great question. Thank you for the question. Yeah, so I kind of slightly addressed that one. So just let me say this thing. I feel like local people might be as curious about you as you are curious about them, because you are international. You bring a new perspective, a new culture. You bring your own story. So it might be hard, as I mentioned, because of the language barrier. It was to me. But I feel like eventually you will find somebody. So as I've said previously, I will just repeat myself. Just keep showing up to different gatherings and try to be proactive. Yeah, I feel like this might be the thing. Actually, also in South Korea, I feel like many universities have buddy programs. It's when basically you are assigned to some local person to introduce you to them, like Korean culture. But the thing is that they don't really advertise them because there is the demand is so big that there is no need to advertise them. So keep an eye on. I think Instagram is probably surprisingly the best place. So that's probably an interesting advice.
Okay, great. So this one is one for everybody. One student was wondering if you had a difficult time changing from your regular diet to the food of your host country, and how you kind of manage the change in food. Who'd like to start?
There's so many potatoes. You don't have to take as many potatoes as it says you can in the cafeteria. It's okay. Uh,
So
I will
Finn
say,
big on the potatoes.
yeah, it's like the base for all of their like student meals is either potatoes or rice. And I found that I tend to prefer rice because too many potatoes is just too much for me. But I will say that's one thing about Finnish cuisine. It's, it's pretty reliable. It's got like decent flavor, but it's really, at least in the student cafeterias, it's not going to be anything spectacular. It'll be like decent. I've never had anything in the cafeteria that's bad. It's just very, very basic fare, I feel like.
Right. Anybody else want
Which
to
is
say?
Yeah,
no different than what I had
yeah.
at my home university, so that hasn't been too much of an adjustment.
Compared to Germany, the food in the US is like really fatty. Like, I don't know how to explain it. So when I go to the caf, I try to always eat different things and not always the same. And we always, or like, we try to eat off campus as well. So it's not always the same.
Okay.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm super excited to answer that question because I feel like Koreans are such foodies. Like, really, there are a lot of restaurants on like practically any corner of the street. There might be like three-store building, and on every floor there will be like a different restaurant, and there will be another one in the basement. Like you know, Korean food is kind of spicy. I mean, if you're Mexican, you will be probably fine. But for me, it was a bit difficult to adjust at first. There are some non-spicy options, but you sometimes need to ask for them. I mean, if you say no spice, they would hopefully understand you. But yeah, honestly, if you like to try different food, Asia and Korea in particular, it would be an ideal place.
Um,
Yeah, and for us, it was also like a shock. The food here, we were expecting this kind of food, but there's too much, like too many pizzas, pasta, burgers, always the same. So I will recommend you to be aware of that. And of course, it's nice to eat sometimes burgers, pizza, but also try to eat salad, fruits, because of your, like, at least we come from Europe, so it's like a really huge difference. And yeah, like you can imagine this different that can also affect on your health and your weight. Yeah, because it's such a big difference. So like we are not used to eat that much or that many this kind of food. So yeah, yes.
Yeah, I would just add one thing, maybe like the food maybe is not like best, not like top level. It's decent, as Ray said. Like it's really you can eat it and enjoy it. And but the best thing is you don't have to cook anything. Like in Europe, at least I was like used to cooking every day. So now I don't have to cook. I don't have to wash my dishes. I just come, swipe my card, and I get my meal. And it's a decent taste, so I'm not complaining. And I think everything is fine.
Anna, you mentioned that at your host university, which is in California, that you guys try and go off campus. How do you guys get to these off campus places? Do you take a car? Is there public transportation? Just because California is such a huge state.
Yeah, there's no public um like possibilities to go by bus or train. So it's really important to have a car in the US because we are basically trapped on campus if we had no friends with cars. So a lot of Americans, almost every American here has a car, and they always take us out, like to the beach or to restaurants or to Los Angeles or San Diego to see big cities. So yeah, it's really good to have friends with cars.
okay, we have some more questions from the chat. So the first one we can ask to everybody. Do you feel like you have time to explore and have cultural experiences or do things on your own, like outside of this events put on by your host university? Do you feel like you have time to get out and do cultural exploration? That's a yes from everybody, sounds like.
Yes, on the weekends we have time, but depends like how much homework you have and if there are like exams at the moment. When I had midterms, I didn't really go off campus, but like when there are no big exams, you'll have enough time to explore. For example, we go to big cities almost every weekend or to the beach or to the area.
Great. The next question is kind of related. And I guess it's less for those of you that are in the United States where it's harder to travel to other countries, but more for you that are outside of the United States. How often do you travel to other countries besides your host country when you're studying abroad? Have you been able to travel to another country or have you traveled around to other cities in your host country?
I mean, the first trip I did was technically within Finland's political borders, but it was still like a 5 hour like boat trip because it was Åland Island. And it's pretty near the coast of Finland, but it's far enough away, and it used to be like Swedish, and then it was Finnish, and then they sort of yeah. But I mean, it's technically still Finnish land, but it still felt like a trip to another place because it had like a different vibe and all that. And so I went with 3 friends, and so we were able to go on a trip like that. So that was fun. Then I went to this last weekend, I went to Poland with my friend who's Polish. So I got to experience, like, she took me around. I got to meet her family. I got to see her university campus. I got to meet her friends. And so, like, I got to experience it from her perspective, which was really cool because, you know, that's where she's from. That's like her city. And so she was able to show me it like from her perspective, which was really cool. And we also got to see some sightseeing stuff too that she normally wouldn't go to, but because that was there, she took me along for it. So I got to do that. Me and a friend are planning a trip to Tallinn in Estonia, because that's not too far of a trip from where I am in Turku. And then possibly another trip to Stockholm, Sweden, because all of those are like those two places are reachable by boat. So it makes it easier and cheaper and, you know, more carbon friendly. And then I'm also going on a trip up into northern Finland, where, you know, like is like the Christmas city and like Lapland and hopefully Northern Lights. So I'm excited for that. And I'm going to get to see the Arctic Sea during one of the excursions during that trip. So I've done a couple of trips and I've definitely got a few more trips planned, but nothing really super far, but enough that I'm getting like a variety of different like cultural experiences, I feel like.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of trips. Sounds great. What about you, Anton? Are you planning any trips either around your country or outside of your host country?
Right. So in Korea, you cannot leave Korea before you obtain alien registration card, and the process is alien registration card or ARC. It's like a Korean like passport for international people, and the process approximately takes 2 months. But after you get it, you can go, and there are a lot of places you can go to actually. So, for example, I'm planning to go to Japan, and I'm super excited about my trip to Japan. A lot of my friends went already to Thailand. Some went to Vietnam. Some went to Vietnam and Japan, and about like a lot of other stuff. Sorry, it's 1 a.m., so I'm a bit. So yeah, that brings me back to the previous question, whether you can align your studies with traveling and getting to know the country. Once again, I would strongly recommend you to set your priorities straight and understand and plan what you want to do and what your goal is in the country. So it might make sense to do a bit less studying, just this once, and so you will have more time for such activities.
Thank you. So our next question is about, or do you want us to add something about travel, Marta?
No, I just wanted to say that I completely agree with Anton. So it's true, of course, that we of course have to study and we have to pass all our exams, but you're just going to do 1 semester abroad probably. So just make the most of it and all the opportunities you have. So here in the United States, it's not that easy to go to another country, but it's really easy and really cheap if you compare the prices when you are in Europe or another country to go to California or to go to New York. So yeah, yes, yeah. And it's also really cheap to rent a car here. Like if you don't have one, it's really cheap, like to go to Avis or some other companies where you can rent a car. So yeah, I also will recommend that to you. So if you can, yeah, that's yeah.
So this is actually kind of a related question, because you're talking about how cheap or expensive things are. So one of our students is asking, how hard or easy has it been to manage your finances abroad? And I guess kind of a related question is, how did you plan financially for your semester abroad?
I can start answering this one. I would say it's real important because it's true that everything is paid here, so accommodation and your meals and tuition, everything is covered. But it's true that it's really expensive when you go to another country. You really have some expenses that you really have to buy all the things. So I was working during the summer. So when I arrived here, I had like at least some money that I could use. So I really recommend you. So before getting to a new country to have some saving or some money that you can use, because when you arrive here, you just get to your room, you have to buy at least some towels if you don't have enough space to take them with you, or to buy so I really recommend you to take some money with you.
Yeah, I feel kind of same because like your crucial like expenses are covered. The roof and the food is covered. So usually like all your money is just spent for your anything anyway, anytime you're going out or you want to do something fun. So I feel like it's really personal question. Like it depends from person to person. But I don't feel like if you have like at least some income, you're gonna be okay because your food is covered and your house is covered. So
And also here you can work. It's true, like if you're just staying one semester, it's a bit more difficult because you have to do a lot of papers, like the insurance, the social, like you can work on campus. So if yeah, just in case, but yeah, it's another. We're not working here, but like it's another opportunity. So if you feel that you really need it.
Yeah.
I'd also recommend to apply to scholarships, as many as possible. I think that's really important, and maybe for like financial support from your government for studying abroad.
Mm-hmm. Great. Um,
Yeah.
Next question. Did anybody have any friends from home visit them? Or does anybody have any friends from home that will be visiting them? Some yeses, some
It's
no's.
not very plausible for me because of the distance from US to Finland.
Yeah, for me as well, definitely a hardcore no. Way too far.
Very far, yes. So I guess it kind of depends on how far you're going, right? Okay.
My brother and his girlfriend actually visited me for like 2 to 3 weeks, and my other brother is visiting me as well.
Great.
Yeah,
I'm
just
also
wanted to
really like,
follow.
sorry.
Sorry, Marta. Just wanted to quickly follow up on that. Actually, it might be really nice that you don't have any kind of friends or any acquaintances in this country that you're going to. You know, it might seem scary, but you will get to experience this independence, and you will actually learn to rely on yourself a lot more. So it's super nice. Yeah, sorry, Marta, once again.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm real lucky because my sister is also in the United States doing another change. So she will be able to come here, but she's real far away from like other country. So yeah, but I really agree with Anton. It's also great, like not to have to rely on your people from there because it's just maybe 4 months, 5 months, and you will come back. So yeah, just to push yourself to your like yeah to go out of your comfort zone.
yeah, nobody came to visit me and nobody will come. But I agree with Anton. It's you know, it's a nice challenge you can take. And of course, like you're gonna start missing your friends back home. So once you come back, you're gonna
And here you're
be
going to have
happy.
a lot of friends. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to feel alone at any point. Like don't worry about that.
Awesome. Okay. Do you want to go on with your next question, Jackie?
Yeah. So it sounds like everyone has like a lot of different perspectives, but I think one of our most common questions is about packing. So what would you suggest packing for the particular country that you're in and season? And if there's like one useful item that you recommend students bring.
So I would
Honestly,
say, oh, sorry.
Go ahead,
So,
Anna.
okay, I'd say like an adapter, like to plug your devices in. That's really important. I was happy I brought that with me.
yeah, an extension cord to convert it to whatever, if you're going to a place that has different like plugins, definitely super useful. Because if you want to use any of your chargers for your devices you brought, it's a nightmare. It'd be a lot harder to try and get one here than it would be to have one beforehand that you've ordered. Um, I would also say, like, especially if you're coming to Finland, then there's a lot of secondhand shops where you can get a lot of stuff super cheap. And, you know, you can always if you take good care of it, then you can always donate it back to those secondhand shops after you're done with it. So that makes it pretty easy. Um, but I would say that if you're coming in winter, at least have one or two warm outfits so that you're not going to be freezing immediately. Um, but yeah, I'd say that's just something warm for Finland.
I would also
Yeah.
say if you have the opportunity to like to have a internet, like roaming some internet in your phone because it's really useful when you just get to the country, just to order the Uber, the Lyft or whatever. make sure that you, or at least you have written down the direction where you have to go. So yes, in case your internet is not working, you know exactly where you have to go, the place or whatever. And I will also say like take the weather, because for example for us here in New Orleans in August it was crazy. It was really, really hot. I'm from Spain and I have never experienced that before. It was horrible. So yes, be aware and be careful, but also take all the things that not only warm clothes, if you just take that the weather is going to be warm, because probably you're going to travel. So now we want to go to New York and it's super cold there. So if you have just taken clothes for summer, then you will have to buy a lot of things here. So yes, make sure to take like to be sure aware of your weather, but also to take all the things for almost all different kind of weather, so you can be
Yeah, one more thing about packaging. Maybe like you shouldn't bring your suitcase full because you're probably gonna travel. Of course, you're gonna travel, and you're gonna want to bring some souvenirs or some clothes or something, so you can have some space left for your souvenirs to bring back. So just make sure to have some space left, and you're gonna be okay.
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't agree more with Simas. Just make your suitcase as light as possible. Don't bring your shampoo here, for example. Don't bring any stuff that you can buy in that country. However, I would recommend you to bring, for example, medicine, because in some countries, the way, and I mean, it's part of the culture, I suppose, but people might treat different illnesses a bit differently. So yeah, like medicine might be a good thing to bring. As the guys mentioned, be mindful of weather conditions. And honestly, just forget what we all said. Just bring your documents. Honestly, that's just the most important thing, because otherwise you're not going anywhere.
No, thank you guys. You guys made a lot of good points about packing and like specific stuff that you should really consider and what to leave at home and kind of what to get in your host countries. I think that was really nice. We only have a couple minutes
Yeah,
left,
we have
right,
our
Rachel?
last question, and then we'll turn it back over. So was there anything unexpected that happened while you were studying abroad, and how did you handle it? No?
Oh.
Okay. We are all very
a lot of unexpected things will happen because you are not like you can imagine some things that will happen, but it's impossible to know everything. So yes, don't worry, just stay calm. You will have a lot of people surrounded like around you, so don't worry. Just rely on the people that you have on campus, on the place, and of course, if it's something bigger, yes, send an email to Jackie or Cynthia. They will answer you super fast. Don't worry, like nothing is super worse. Nothing is So you will.
great. Last question. We'll let everyone answer one thing. What has been your favorite part of the experience so far?
For me, that was Chuseok Festival, which is a Korean Thanksgiving Day, because we got to meet with a lot of locals and to interact with them, to play a lot of Korean like traditional games, to see traditional performances and stuff like that. To wear, for example, traditional clothes as well, which was really cool. Anyway, that was great.
Great.
I would say the trips with the people from here and the people.
Yeah, I would choose one trip. We did it together, like, and more of our exchange friends. We went to Puerto Rico. It's like a Caribbean island. It's super nice, like sand and like beach, palm trees, sunny. It was so tropical for me since I came from quite far away from Eastern Europe. So I think that was the most favorite moment.
For me, it
Pretty much.
was. You can go first. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the trip to Åland Island with my friends, where we made the mistake of biking 40 kilometers in a day, which was a miserable experience at the time, but I think it's one of my favorite memories so far.
For me, it was a road trip to Malibu, Santa Barbara, and Santa Monica. And I went with 4 friends and we stayed in a motel. and our trip to Yosemite Park.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'll let Jackie wrap it up. Thank you, everyone.
Cynthia, can you go to the next slide? I really loved hearing all about your experiences and your useful tips. I really loved what Anton said about your nerves are just excitement. I think that was a really good statement to make, and I think that's so true. But if you are feeling nervous and it is excitement, but it's also nerves, please email your student services officer, like me and Cynthia. All of us on the team will be glad to answer any of your questions. Gretchen is the student services officer for Belgium, France, Switzerland, Africa, and the Middle East. Rachel Brown is Asia. Kira is Spain and Latin America. Honora is the UK, Ireland, and Oceania. And Grace is Central and Southern Europe. And of course, Cynthia and I are in the US. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email us. Cynthia, do you want to go to the next slide really quickly? Our last slide. If you want to follow other student experiences or get notifications about upcoming events or important deadlines, please follow us on TikTok and Instagram. And if you want to tag us in any of your pictures, I know some students would love to see your content. But yes, thank you so much to our panelists for joining us this morning. And for some of you, it's super late. So thank you so much for joining us. You guys did amazing. And yeah, thank you, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Have a great
Bye-bye.
experience.
Bye.
Bye bye. Have a good one.
Bye.